So I just saw Aquaman in The Lost Kingdom, the newest and final film in the DCEU. And this universe sure did not end on a high note. Now, I'm not going to go into all the production troubles and behind the scenes of this project, but basically there were lots of reshoots and rewrites mixed in with the whole Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard case, and it was just absolute production hell, and you can definitely tell when watching the finished project. Now, knowing the background of this film, I went into it with very low expectations, and I came out of it thinking that it was surely a movie, I guess. Now, I have not seen the first Aquaman. Let me rephrase that. I have not finished the first Aquaman, so I can't compare this film to the first one. But overall, I found this film to be a slightly entertaining but mostly bland experience. It was very generic, and I probably won't think about it much ever again. Not saying it's terrible, there are some redeemable qualities that make it not the worst thing in the world, but yeah, I did not enjoy this. Now, before I get more into my review, this is just my opinion. I just want to state that I know lots of people really enjoyed this movie, and if you did, then good for you. I'm happy that many people are connecting to this film, even if I did not. But let's just respect each other's opinions in the comments and stuff. Anyways, let's start with the things I actually liked. Number one, I liked the brotherhood between Jason Momoa and Patrick Wilson, and the dynamic between the two. It was definitely the standout of the film. You can tell that Jason Momoa was actually having fun on set, and the two actors have great chemistry with each other, and they have a lot of charisma. I mildly enjoyed the opening montage of Aquaman becoming a dad and also becoming the king of Atlantis, and all those shenanigans. That was kind of fun. The suit for Black Manta was actually pretty cool, even though I didn't like what they did with the character, but more on that later. Also, judging that this is the end of the DCEU, I liked how it ended Aquaman's journey and how it didn't, try to tease anything about the future of this universe. It just felt like the Aquaman story was actually complete. Some of the visuals did not look as bad as I expected them to, especially from the trailers. And lastly, it's engaging enough. It kept my attention for most of the movie. I guess I mean, you can't say that for some other movies released this year. Okay, that's enough positives. Time to talk about the bad stuff. First off, half of this movie is like underwater and very CGI heavy. And for the most part, it didn't look that bad, but there are many shots where it looks pretty bad. Now, it's not Flash level of ugliness, but still very unfinished and poorly done. It seemed very rushed, even though this project was delayed. But I'm pretty sure it was like due to like rewrites and reshoots and all that stuff. Still, it turned out better than I expected, but the bar is so low. The story is also very generic. Like it is very much like the Lord of the Rings in like certain like story elements, which I was not expecting. But fails to create the same spectacle that those movies had. It very much feels like a movie where characters are just going to places just to go to the next place and then the next place, and there's no like good flow in the narrative. The redemption arc for Aquaman's brother was very predictable and derivative. They add a new scientist character played by Randall Park, the same guy from the Ant-Man movies, and in those movies I actually really liked that character, but in this movie he was like funny for two scenes, but the more and more he was in it, he just became so annoying, and it's like why do we need to spend so much time with him? Aquaman's family is also barely in this. Like his mom is here, but like what did she do that was important? His human dad and his son are only in this film for the beginning, but they don't show up for the majority of the film, and they don't get like referenced much. So when Black Manta attacks the house, and it's like supposed to be this big dramatic moment, it was like the point where it's like, oh wait, they existed in the movie. Amber Heard in this is definitely not the focus of the movie or in any scene, but She is still in this movie and has a decent amount of on-screen time, which use that information for what you will. I don't have much to comment about that. Now, the big disappointment here for me was the villain. Black Manta had so much potential and he was set up very well, at the beginning of the movie. But they just completely wasted his character because he basically gets possessed by an old, banished, evil king guy. It was so out of nowhere. I don't know if this was actually part of the lore or anything, but I just felt like it undermined the character and how intimidating he was. If he's just controlled or gets all his powers from basically an evil ghost inside of him, then I feel like it does a disservice to the character. Also, the big bad villain was not developed at all. They have this big expedition dump right before the final battle where we learn about the Lost Kingdom. That's literally in the title. But we don't get much information about it before then, and it was just so out of nowhere, and it felt like, where did this come from? Also, it's just way too long, this movie, especially the final battle. Anyways, yeah, not much more to say about this one. It was not great in my opinion, not the worst comic book movie I've ever seen, but it was very generic and forgettable. It has its fun moments and is entertaining enough, but there are just so many issues with the story and characters and visuals, so I can't say it's a good movie for me, so it gets a 4.5 out of 10.